Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Robla School District Board meeting. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Let's just go ahead and note that let's see here. Oh, let's start with the Pledge to Allegiance. Do we have the video ready?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and move on to let the record reflect that all board members are present and accounted for. No action was taken in closed session. I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda now it needs to be amended. There is one item that has been removed and it is an action item. Item 7C has been removed. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
I move that we adopt the agenda as amended.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Communications. All right, this right now, first one is public comment. This is an opportunity for individuals wishing to address the board on any non-agenda items which are of interest to the public and within the board's jurisdiction. You may do so at this time. What we ask you to do is to go ahead and write your comments in the comment section on the YouTube channel where you folks are watching, and we'll have staff that will be keeping an eye on that to see what your comments are. The board may not take action upon these items presented during the public comment, but may briefly respond to statements made and ask clarifying questions or refer speakers to district staff or other resources. So with that, we're going to go ahead and give it a few minutes for folks to check that out.
There is one message on there for Craig or Ruben to check your email. There's a report there.
I have it.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and mute that. Okay, and okay, so the message just went. It just played on the YouTube channel, so I'm going to give it another minute or so to see if there's any comments. Okay, seeing no comments, we'll move right along, and if other comments appear there in the next few minutes, we will go ahead and make it a point to go back to those comments. With that, we'll move on to item B, public hearing on collective bargaining agreement Sunshine District proposal to CEA, the CSEA. So with that, we'll go ahead and I'll call the hearing open. This is an opportunity for folks to comment on the collective bargaining agreement, which was sunshined at our last board meeting. So if the public has any comments, please also make it a point to put those in the comments section of the video as well.
If I may just clarify, Mr. President, that this is the sunshining of the CSEA proposal. Oh, yeah. The RTA proposals were the ones that were sunshined at the last meeting.
Oh, I stand corrected. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, seeing no comments, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item C, public hearing on.
Craig, Trustee Lewis, just one thing. If we can give it just a little bit more time, because I don't know if it's me or if it's everyone, but that was like right after you made the announcement. I was listening to it on YouTube, so maybe just a few more seconds just to make sure.
Okay, I'll give it another 30 seconds to see if anyone comments.
Sorry, I just want to make sure that people feel like they've had a chance and it's all official.
Guys, I've got YouTube muted on my end, so I just look and see if my lips stop moving.
I think we're good now.
Okay. Okay, so then we will move on to item C, which is public hearing on the collective bargaining agreement Sunshine CSCA proposal to the district. So with that, I will open this hearing. Once again, same thing stands. If you have something that you want to comment on and you're watching, please do so in the comment section or the chat section or the comment section on the YouTube channel. Okay,
I don't know if it's just me or not, but it just played on my other computer. I could be delayed, but that was me. So I think we're good.
Okay.
I move that we close the hearing.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. All right, move on to item D, reports. Robla Education Foundation. I understand, Ruben, you have the report for Mr. Raven?
That is correct. Mr. Raven says that he will begin working on the shift schedule for June 28th through July 4th at the fireworks booth. He will begin working on that in the near future so that people will be able to schedule their shifts early and often. So I don't have to stress as much in the few days prior to opening, wondering if I will have enough people to fill all the shifts. I look forward to board member participation this year. Those are direct quotes from Mr. Rigg.
He is so subtle. You can count me in this year, John. I got you.
Me too.
Now he's got it on video. Okay. We're going to move on to a report from CSCA. Do we have a representative from CSCA with us?
It would appear that we do not.
Okay. How about RTA?
Likewise.
Okay. Superintendents Report.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So I'll begin tonight with the very obvious, important topic of reopening our schools to the transition model on March 22nd. So that is a week from this coming Monday. Families have been notified by me, as well as their school principal, with the details of how reopening will work. This Friday is one of our regularly scheduled monthly materials pickup dates. Principals will be using this to allow students to meet a new teacher if they have been assigned to a new teacher, or to meet or connect with their transition teacher in person. We are working on finalizing some specific guidelines for the transition model. The transition model was developed, as we're all aware, some time ago, and we do have an MOU with Robla Teachers Association on that, but we feel that there are some details that need to be clarified, and we've been working on that with RTA and are making great progress with that. Excuse me, our schools are indeed ready to open physically. We are very excited that we have been putting in place all of the aspects of the school that physically must be in place to welcome students back. So there will be 2 first days of school the week of March 22nd. Cohort A will come back to school on Monday the 22nd, and Cohort B will come back to school for the first day on Thursday, March 25th. We are very excited to say that we are working with Sac Republic Soccer, Sac Republic FC, to make the day even more special for students. They are working on donating some items and helping us to make it more of a celebration as we welcome students back to the schools after a long year off. So more details to come on that, but we're excited that they're partnering with us to turn this into a really special day for students. Part of reopening is the importance of making sure that we are testing our staff and our students. This is called surveillance testing. So of course there will be testing that is the response testing should anybody show any signs of being positive for COVID and or notify us that someone in the family is positive for COVID. That's called response testing, and that will happen quickly as needed. What I'm talking about now is surveillance testing that is done on a regular interval in order to just check that everybody who is going into our buildings does indeed not have COVID, and because we know that sometimes you can be positive for COVID but not have any symptoms. So this would be our way to check that that is indeed the case. So the Robla School District has registered with Valencia Labs, which is a state lab, to do our COVID testing. We have created our plan, and I want to really acknowledge the important work of our district nurse, Judy Allen, as well as our HR chief, Nicole Sullivan, our director of special services, Sandy Graham, and our CBO, Gerardo Castillo, who have all been working very hard to get this plan together. We did submit our plan for testing to Sacramento County Public Health, and they have said that it's a good plan, a strong plan, gave us a little bit of feedback, but mostly it was, they were grateful that we had put the details of our plan together. The principals now actually have received the first few hundred testing kits that we'll need to do the testing at their school sites. Those are already on campus. We are working on hiring some additional part-time nurses that will actually conduct this testing at the school sites. We have determined that testing at our schools will happen every 2 weeks for all students and staff who choose to participate. We cannot mandate that people be tested. We can strongly encourage them to do so. And if they choose to participate, then they will participate every 2 weeks. So we have sent a letter out to staff, and staff is currently registering to be tested. I did my own registration a couple of days ago. It only takes about 5 minutes to register for this process. And then the letter to go out for families will go out tomorrow. And then we will also have letters for families to register when they come to the school to pick up materials. And the letter itself actually has a QR code on it, so they can just take their phone and read the QR code, and it will take them right to the registration site so that we can encourage people to get that done. As you know, all of our staff was invited to participate in COVID vaccines for educators at Natomas High School on February 18th. We are scheduled, all of us who received that first dose on the 18th, to get our second dose on March 18th. It is my understanding that probably on Monday we will get an email from Natomas that will give us the details of our appointment for Thursday. You will need that little card. I want to make sure everybody hears me say that little card that you were given when you got your first shot, because you need to take it to your second shot. We also had a number of employees who were not able to make that date. So I have been sharing through email messages to staff for those people who maybe did not get that date. other clinics that have opened. But I think we are pretty much have offered clinics to anybody in the district who is an employee who would like to get a vaccine. I wanted to mention what's happening in nutrition services. It's important to note that we want our community to be aware that there will be no Meals on Wheels program next week. We cannot use our buses to deliver food because we are getting our buses ready to transport students when school reopens on the 22nd. So families have been notified through all of the means that we have to do that. If you follow us on social media, I've been seeing that notification from all the school sites and from the district. So families next week will actually need to come to the schools to pick up their food just for that 1 week. And then next, beginning then with the transition plan, students will actually take home food on their last day of school for the week. So students who come to school in cohort A on Monday and Tuesday will take home food for the rest of the week on Tuesday when they leave. And then students who come to school in cohort B on Thursday and Friday will take their food home on Friday, on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So they have food until they come back to school the following Thursday. And then on Wednesday is when families who are on the distance learning model can come to the school during some specific hours to pick up their food, and they will pick up food for a whole week. We're also very excited that we have now strengthened our relationship with the organization called Food for Families. This is the organization put together by local restaurateurs, Clay Nutting specifically, from Canon, who has been working very closely with us, working very closely with Kathy Moen, our food service director, to get food to our families in addition to the food that we give out in our program. Their meals actually are for the entire family. So as we only are able to give out food for children and people under 18, they're able to give out food for families. And so they're the organization that gave out food when we did our parent dinner back in September, and then they did it again when we did that last week. They will now distribute food at all 5 of our schools every other week. So twice a month, they will distribute 60 meals to families, and we will have those available also on Wednesdays. So families from either the transition model or the distance learning model can come to school, and it'll be on a first come, first serve basis. 60 meals will be given out at every school, as I said, every other week. I also wanted to provide an update on our resilience, the Robla resilience program. We had our latest session with all staff on our professional learning day, Monday, March 8th. We are now engaged in the next level of resilience, which is called the developmental sprint. That began on February 24th with 57 participants. And these 57 participants are now setting personal goals around anti-racism. We are creating, I'm in the sprint myself, we are to create an experiment to try and move toward our goal in being more anti-racist in some way in our lives. And we are meeting in small groups of 4 people once a week to kind of coach each other and to and pat each other on the back for any progress that we're making and talk about how our experiments are working. The final sprint session for these 57 participants will be on March 22nd. And the resilience sessions for all employees will continue through June. And I would just say that I look forward to having our next board meeting in April. If everything goes well, that board meeting will be in our new boardroom in our new building. And we will be excited to be together in a socially distant way, of course, but be together in the same room nonetheless. And so we're working towards making that happen for our next meeting in April. And that is my report.
So thank you so much. Okay, let's move on to board member reports. Why don't we go ahead and start with Trustee Devine? Anything to report?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Trustee Barnes?
Sure. Couple quick things. One, I just want to thank Ruben for sending out our Superintendent Reyes, I should say, for sending out the additional information on vaccine sites because that stuff is very useful. And even though I have my first one as scheduled, that information is useful for a variety of things. So thank you very much for that because I've already made sure others were aware of it. The second thing was I attended the suicide training that we had earlier this week. And I saw Trustee Duluth there, and I apologize if I didn't see anyone else there. There were quite a few people there, so that was a good sign. But I do remember seeing Trustee Duluth there, and that was a great training. It was a somber training, and the whole tone of it was very somber because of the topic. But wow, that was really educational because I really had not thought of suicide rates, especially during the pandemic, at that level. At the elementary and middle school level. And I think there's just a perception out there that it really is kind of older children or so. But as the suicide training taught us, it really isn't. So I really appreciate that and want to thank you for hosting that training. And it was very valuable to me. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Although I thought it would be great to kind of have something like that or at least some information for parents to look out for with their children. Maybe they don't quite always know what to look for or so, but the training was so valuable. So thank you very much for that. And that's all I have to report.
Okay. Trustee Cardona?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Trustee Boyd?
Most of what I have to report is about the New Hope Charter School, but that's item on the agenda, so I'm just going to leave it for that. I want to apologize. I missed the resilience train. I was on it on the phone when I was out walking the dogs, and I lost it. I got the address and password from Ruben, but I could not see it out there to get back on, and it was just starting to sign in today. I'm really sorry I missed that. And that's all I have.
Okay. A couple of things to report. So, as you know, I'm a representative on the California School Boards Association, CSBA Delegate Assembly, and so I've had a chance to kind of interact a lot with other districts and other representatives and board members from other districts. Also, been following legislation that seems to be highly supported and is moving forward. That is actually encouraging or supporting the idea of school openings and there's a couple of things that I'm finding and that I wanted to make sure to make public note of. Number one is Robla, as has often been the case, in particular under Superintendent Reyes's leadership, we are ahead of the curve when it comes to whether it's making sure that our physical facilities are prepared and have proper ventilation systems, making sure that there's a plan for actual reopening and working and developing the relationships with our collective bargaining units. Once again, Robla is ahead of the game compared to a lot of school districts in our area. The other thing that I wanted to do was to commend, in particular, our collective bargaining units and the support that they have provided in making all of this happen, not just in helping to develop the plan for reopening, but when we did the poll, 75% of our staff members were ready to come back, and that was phenomenal. And even our collective bargaining leadership, one, recognizing that, but also wanted to make sure that the district was doing everything possible and they were looking after the safety of their members as they very well should. And I just want to commend the entire Robla family on how well we have worked together to get to this point. And I think it's a testament to the relationships that we have and the commitment that we have to our students. And I'm not just talking about my fellow board members, but I'm also talking about our staff, our administration, everybody. So just want to say thank you to everybody and look forward to everyone coming back. And by the way, recognizing that when we come back, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be almost probably as chaotic as when we started doing distance learning, because we're going to have to get used to the idea of coming back and students being in school together once again. So the same patience that everybody, and that includes parents and students, and that you showed during that time, we're going to be asking that you show during the time as we reopen, as we come back together in face-to-face as a Robla family. The other thing that I wanted to report on had to do with the resilience training. And I've been a part of every session of the resilience training. And, I want to say this, and sometimes I think that whenever people say that, well, this is a safe space to talk, and this is a place where you can have conversations and really talk about how you feel. I think sometimes there are a lot of people, in particular, when it's an environment where it's an employment environment, that people don't don't always feel comfortable to say what's on their mind. I say this because those who have participated know that I tend to be a little bit vocal during those sessions. I don't necessarily agree with every aspect of everything that is being presented by the presenters, and I make that known. But here's the thing, and I will tell you, in working with them, they thrive and they really encourage that conversation to help to provide that understanding, and really help them. And I can tell you, they have been very, very responsive. I just want to encourage our staff, our board members, as you're participating in that, in particular our staff. It is a safe space. Know that we want you to be able to say what it is that you feel you need to say during those conversations, because unless we are willing to do that, that's the only way that we really address a lot of the issues that we need to address. I don't necessarily agree with everything, but I do know that there are some very good, some very solid, and some solid things that we need to get and take away from the anti-racism training that is being provided. And I can tell you that both the spirit in which it is being provided and is solid, and it is really open to, and is about having those positive discussions. So I want to encourage you, when given the opportunity to speak and speak your mind, obviously we want to do so. We want to, what I like to say, speak truth in love. But we want to have those definitely want to have those conversations, and I would very much value you being a part of those conversations. And I know that there are some of you out there who kind of feel like you'd want to say something but don't. I know, because you've reached out to me personally and directly and said that, and I just want to let you know, and that's why I want to make sure to do it publicly, that it is. You say what it is that you feel you need to say during those conversations, because that is the point of having these trainings. But I want to commend once again our presenters as well in the Roberts Family Development Center for the work they're doing with our staff. So thank you so very much. All right, now with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to presentations. And we're going to start with the facilities update.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you just fine.
Yep.
Wonderful. It's just, I know halfway through it, sometimes you guys tell me you can't hear me, then I know where to start off from. So good evening. First off, I just wanted to say that, overall, we are excited for the return of students to campus. I think overall, we've been coordinating with the district administration as well as site administration and staff on procedures, drop-off zones, bus drop-offs, operations. In many ways, this past year has afforded us an opportunity to go and to commence construction at Robla and at Bell. This is the first time since we've started construction that we've actually had kids back on campus. So we're spending a lot of time with our construction teams and with our design teams, making sure that we're setting up logistics plans to make sure that we are creating safe environments so that school on-site instruction can resume, and that we do not impact or try to minimize the impact of construction on those sites as best as we can. With that, our construction teams continue to adhere to their COVID protocols that they've developed for the sites. They continue to work to make sure that they limit access to other parts of the campus where construction is not occurring. That said, the nice thing about the way that you have structured this, either by design or otherwise, is that we'll have a week to test out the system. and then we will have spring break to make any potential modifications that need to be done to those logistics plans and to the access to the sites for staff and for students. So we're looking forward to welcoming students back on campus. And although the construction folks would love to have the campuses to themselves so they can continue to move forward with haste, if you will, we are very excited to have students back on campus for our overall construction schedule. At Robla, we continue to move forward, and we believe that we are able to actually show you where we're at. So with Robla, we are actually at a point now where the second story is up. We have the framing for the roof and the trusses. And so if you drive up and drive by, you can see it. And so we continue to move forward with that. We've done a lot of work to bring in the fencing where possible to allow for greater play area space on the blacktop. And we're continuing to work with the Clark Sullivan team on making sure that we have appropriate paths of travel and entrance points for the construction trucks that do not interfere with the rest of the school operations. Over at Bell, we are forming and pouring foundations for the new two-story classroom building, which includes the administration, library, and the classrooms themselves. So we're beginning to work through that process as we go forward. And we continue to look at making progress as we go there. I will tell you that, despite the weather that we've encountered off and on, we've been able to minimize those delays or any delays really due to the use of the concrete mix which the board approved at the last meeting. Over at Glenwood, we are completed the negotiations for the guaranteed maximum price. However, there is still a piece of paperwork from the city of Sacramento that we're waiting for DSA to give its final stamp and approval, and therefore we cannot approve the GMP until we have that. We were hoping to have that in hand, but that has not appeared, and so we'll be coming back to you at the next board meeting with that. However, with that said, what I think is important for the board to know, as well as the public, is that we will be putting up temporary fencing around the site that will be where we'll be commencing construction, and we're hoping to do that prior to Monday, the latest after spring break or during spring break, in order to define what the areas of construction will be prior to students and staff coming back. The principal, as well as district staff and all the teachers have been tremendously helpful. We are actually vacating 8 classrooms in addition to the area in which we will be laying down for the new kindergarten classroom wing. And so that will allow us to move forward with a portion of the modernization in conjunction with the construction of the new classroom wing as well. All the teachers have been wonderful. They've actually already moved, I think, the vast majority of supplies out of those areas, and we are moving forward with that. But even though we will not be going back to the GMP until a later date, we have started putting up some of the fencing so that staff and students can familiarize themselves with what the operations will be as we move forward. Looking ahead, Robla looks good at the moment. We're looking forward to getting to a point where you start seeing the weatherproofing of the building. So now that we have the framing up, we have rough electrical in there. We have all of the windows on order. We have all those types of things coming to fruition, and we're working on making sure that we continue to move forward with that. At Bell Avenue, we are continuing working on the foundations and utility tie-ins. As always, it's one of those things where anytime you think a pipe is someplace, it's 5 feet one way or 4 feet the other. And but we continue to work through that and working towards completion over there as well, or working towards getting the foundation completed and moving forward over there. Like I think I already covered Glenwood in terms of what we were going to do going forward. Right now, like I said, our main concern is having students back on campus, making sure that we are able to mitigate that impact as much as possible. And once again, just want to thank everybody over at Glenwood, as well as Bell and Robla, for really spending the extra time to make sure that we get a good plan in place, and we continue to move forward with a high level of coordination so that we are able to maintain safe environments, and we're able to continue to work on these projects with students coming back into campus. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I know some of you have driven by and taken a look, but it's pretty exciting across the board to see a lot of that construction underway. I know over at Bell Avenue, our little project seems very small next to the industrial park that they decided to put up a block and a half away. But you know, it'll be very nice to see that moving forward.
It is exciting to see that framing going up. Driving by there, I have to admit. When is it that you plan to start putting up, actually building on Bell Avenue?
So you'll probably start seeing framing. Let's see here, reporting foundations. It takes about 28 days to cure the concrete. Probably early, let's call it mid-May. You'll start seeing framing occur.
Okay.
So you'll actually start seeing the similar to Robla, you'll start seeing the building come out of the ground, if you will.
That's fine. No, I didn't mean it. That I was spring was fine with me. I wasn't sure if we were delaying this till a little bit later or not, so that's fine. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. Thank you.
We're trying to get that done as quickly as possible. As the board may recall, we cannot commence the modernization of Bell until we have the new two-story classroom building built because of our interim housing plan. So,
okay, that's okay.
We are all very heavily incentivized to get the two-story classroom building done over at Bell so that we can continue marching through that campus and continuing our modernization efforts, as well as the construction of the kindergarten classroom wing as well.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All righty, well, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along, we're now at item 5B, Robla 78, New Hope Charter School update.
And I will just welcome Harinder Kagani, the Executive Director of New Hope Charter. We are excited to bring this update to the board around all the things that we've been up to, and we've been up to a lot. Mr. Kagani.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. I will share my screen with you all, and we shall begin. But thank you always for having me here, and it's always an honor to come before you and share with you all. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So I'll just go over some of the key pieces, and then I would love to just have Mr. Reyes. He's been instrumental in our conversations, of course, all throughout the process, but we really collaborated quite a bit this past couple of weeks, as well as Mr. Boyd, Trustee Boyd, to also share some of his thoughts in our collaboration. So the importance of the collaboration is all about building relational trust. And I highlight this every time I come before you because this is critical to our relationship. And it's something that we've worked extremely hard. It's been 2 years in this process, and now we're at the point where we have launched into the actual work of enrolling students. So I'll touch on that in a moment. But everybody, I was looking at the other folks who are online tonight, whether it's our superintendent and the executive assistant, Mrs. Malaspine, or our chief of personnel, our CBO, and school leaders and staff. Everyone here, we've had meaningful conversations, meaningful collaboration, and that's why we're at this point where we're at today. So I just am grateful for the willingness and the partnership, and continue to look forward to more. And then in terms of our school facility, we continue to work on our temporary site. That's the bulk of our time that we're spending, which will be at Glenwood Elementary School. And our goal is that in August of 2021, that we'll begin serving 7th grade scholars at Glenwood Elementary. We'll be bringing in portable classrooms and restrooms to be kind of in the far outfield, if you will, at Glenwood. And so things are coming along nicely with that. And we're, again, grateful for the partnership with Mr. Reyes, as well as Mr. Castillo, for the work and their leadership in helping us develop this, as well as Principal Gutierrez at Glenwood Elementary School. We'll come back in our next update with much more detail on this, as by that time we will be much further along. But again, we're sticking with our plan and just going forward together. And then, even though our permanent site, obviously, that's something that's kind of in our side view. We continue to work with the California Department of Education, just in terms of the approvals from the CDE in terms of preparing for even doing any sort of planning there. So there's much work there as well. But again, we kind of have to be in both places at once as far as the work that we're doing. But again, I'm excited to report that we're making good progress on the school facility plan. Getting the most exciting thing for me as a educator and as a parent is really this, though, is just the connection and the work that we've done again the past 2 years to get to this point of where we actually now are connecting with students and families, sharing during virtual enrollment meetings. We've already had a virtual enrollment meeting this week at Glenwood Elementary, as well as for Robla Elementary. And we'll continue next week with 3 more of these virtual enrollment meetings. And this is just our first time really connecting with folks, and we've really enjoyed it. We've really been able to share much more detail about our culture and climate of our school, the college going culture, as well as the academic program, and introduce them to our principal and director of instruction and myself. So again, I just want to acknowledge the work and support of all of the Robla School District team. And this is really something that we're excited about, that we're doing this work now. I'll jump forward one more piece, just kind of previewing. We're ready to launch our staffing recruitment as well. This month and next month, we'll continue to move forward with that. And really, we're in the process of just recruiting right now for our staffing. And for teachers, that's the bulk of the folks, of course, that I'm referring to in terms of staffing. And when we do that, I'll come back and update you all, hopefully in April, with progress on that as well. And so, again, grateful to Mrs. Sullivan, who has been a great guide and a great collaborator in helping us develop our work in staffing recruitment. So I want to just pause here and just allow any questions and discussion, and I would welcome any input. And if there's any information that you all have that you want right now, and also just in the future when I come back with other updates. So thank you.
Any questions or comments?
What about how big was the turnout? How many people turned out at the events this week?
So we had about, we didn't have a lot of people come out to the 2 events, again, because this is all very new and they're virtual. But the folks that we probably had about 6-7 families at the Glenwood event. And then last night we didn't have, I think we had about 3 or 4 families. But my experience with these events, I mean, obviously, normally I do these in person, but this is how it usually starts. And when word starts to get out and really folks start to hear about the opportunity to enroll, then the momentum really picks up.
Are you doing anything like via social media to promote the school and to promote the opportunities and to promote these things?
We are. We're working with our district team and just continuing to push the information out to our families. And so again, that's been a wonderful partnership for us. And what we're doing is we're also asking, like for one of the staff members that was there last night, is one of our, and forgive me if I get the title wrong, one of the community outreach folks for the district. And she was there because she said, I want to learn more about this so then I can talk to more parents as well. So both in terms of like social media, email blasts, as well as auto calls and so forth. So in anything, trustees, that you all can do to spread the word that we're up and running. And on the district's website, we have some information there about these enrollment meetings, but also we have an email up there as well at the district that folks can reach out to us to ask questions and if there's any other information that they need.
I would also just add that Mr. Pagani also came to our sixth grade, district-wide sixth grade PLC meeting with all of the sixth grade teachers to make sure they had an understanding of the new school and were able to ask him questions. And they, they're a great group of people, and they were very willing to, also carry the word to families. And on materials pickup day on Friday, they will have flyers that they will also be handing to families when they come to pick up the materials. So they are, I think, also very happy to help with recruitment.
Okay.
And I totally agree. Word of mouth is going to be spread the word here. We know that the desire for it is here. And believe me, I've in the past have started out with 0 show-ups and ended up with a snowballing of participants through word of mouth. So I'm very positive and encouraged about how this is going.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you so very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
There we go. And now we're going to move on to our LCAP update.
And that's me. So I'm going to share my screen. So it is, everybody can see that okay?
Yes.
It is once again that special time of year where we begin to focus, pandemic or not, on our local control accountability plan. It is the time of year that we need to begin to think about planning for the upcoming 3 years. This is the first year in our new 3-year plan. And we wanted to kind of just share with the board the presentation that we will be doing with our administrators, with our employees at the school sites, with our school site councils and our English Learner Advisory Councils, just to kind of bring everybody up to speed on where we are in this process and how this process works. So this is our LCAP infographic. We publish these a few times a year. This is the latest version. This is what I'm calling our COVID-19 version, kind of letting parents know basic information about the district and just kind of reminding them what our LCAP goals are, as well as giving them information around how COVID-19 has impacted our schools. This is page 1. And this is page 2, gives them some basic budget information, gives them a little bit of an update on our facilities, and then it just kind of reminds how we have adapted our programs to meet the needs of our students and our families during COVID. This is being emailed tomorrow to all families. This is on our website. And so it's just some good information we wanted all families to have around kind of reminding them about this process and getting back to getting everyone to kind of think about the LCAP. So the state always, in their infinite wisdom, talk to us about making changes to the process. So how is LCAP changing in this next iteration? This is the slide directly from the training that we went through. And I will say there's not a whole lot, I'm not going to read this to you, but it just reminds us that there's a strong connection between the budget and the goals that we set, and that those goals need to be based upon the needs of our students and our community, and that we need to be sure that we are engaging with them to find out their thoughts around that. We are encouraged always to find ways to measure what we do to see that it is working, and that what we do is based upon what our stakeholders want and what our research tells us is a strong program, as well as our experience with programs to decide how to create actions and services that are impactful with our students. So I won't bore you with the details of this. This is the kind of work that this is a really important time for me to acknowledge Cindy Lyon and all the work that she does. Cindy is actually the staff member who actually puts the document itself together. And these are the elements that she will have to complete in order to complete our document. So of course, there's a budget overview. Cindy, of course, gets lots of support from our CBO, Gerardo Castillo, because of course, the budget is a big part of the LCAP document. So budget overview, talking about how we'll be spending our money, an annual update, providing just basic information about what's been happening with what we've been working on. Our narrative template, it's just very important to continue and make sure that our LCAP tells the story of the district, where we've been and where we're going, what our needs are, who our students are, what it is about our community that makes us special. That's kind of the part that I get to be most involved in. I always enjoy doing that. And then of course the expenditures, very specifically, how are we spending the money? And those are the elements of the LCAP document itself. This is also pretty basic information, not new to most of you. Trustee Devine, this might be some new information for you, but obviously we need to present the LCAP before it's adopted to our community to make sure that they have an opportunity to know what it says, notify people that they have the opportunity to give us comments and give us feedback. We have to hold one public hearing. You'll see the dates for these meetings coming up later in this presentation. And then we adopt the plan along with our budget, and then we submit it to the Sacramento County Office of Education by July 1st. The LCAP also has, it's important to note that they do allow, and I think this has been a wonderful way that it's evolved, allow for what they call local indicators. And so we do get to talk about ways that we measure our success. So one great way, the best example I think for that is something, one of our goals, as the board knows, is around parent involvement. And there is no state measure for parent involvement. That's a local thing that we have to do to figure out how we are measuring the effectiveness of our parent involvement activities. So that's an example of a local indicator. How are we looking at that goal? How are we measuring that it's working? What are we doing? And actually, we're coming up with some pretty great innovations that the board will hear more about when we write this document, talking to them how we are trying to actually put some numbers, and not just how many people showed up to a meeting, but how impactful some of our parent involvement activities are. So I'm excited that we continue to delve deeply into looking at what those local indicators might be. So this is the timeline based upon those requirements. You see it starts with tonight, the LCAP update to the board, and then you see from there we go on to our community meeting next week. We then have a cabinet discussion around LCAP. I'll go over this presentation with all of our principals, and then they will have the month of April, once we return from break, until the end of the month, to take this presentation and engage with staff at their school site council, and their English Learner Advisory Council. And then I will take the opportunity to meet with RTA and CSEA and get their input and thoughts around LCAP. During this process, we're now beginning to draft the document, and that draft then needs to be completed by May 17th, or that's at least the goal that we've set, the date that we've set. And then right after that, we will have community meeting number 2, where we will present that first draft to the community for input. Then at the May 27th board meeting, we will hold our public hearing around the document. And then parents and staff members, the entire community has the month from that board meeting until the board meeting on June 24th to give us, submit their comments. And we then can make any revisions that we may need to make to the document. And then on June 24th, we take that final document to the board for adoption when they adopt the budget for the upcoming year. So this is our vision statement for the Robla School District. This has been a guiding force behind looking forward and deciding how to support our students, create an environment that is helping them to improve both academically and emotionally and socially, and involve their parents fully in their education. So I just think it's always important for us to remind ourselves kind of what our guiding ideas are, and then how will we engage the community. So the details, of course, are that people like me, the LCAP leadership team, and that team is our directors generally, as well as myself and the principals. They are the people who will work to engage the community, and then you see the types of meetings, and I've kind of mentioned these already. These are where we will do the engagement, and that engagement starts tonight, and that will run through April 30th, and then of course later in June, and May 27th to June 18th is that document comment period. So these are the kind of the required steps for engagement, and this is what it will look like specifically in Robla. So the budget, of course, has a great deal to do with this. I have some slides here that are from, I cannot steal the thunder from Mr. Castillo, who has still to do his second interim. He let me steal slides from his presentation, which will be part of how we will present this to community. And it's just about our budget. So I'm not going to kind of run you through these because these are part of the presentation that he will be doing tonight. But obviously we want there to be some basic level understanding of the budget for our community, so they understand kind of where we are budget-wise in terms of, you know, the amount of money we have to spend as we create new services and activities for our families. I'm very excited to say that we are going to propose, we have been writing at LCAP for many, many years, and we have stayed very true to our 3 goals, and they have held up well over time, but we think that the time is right now to add a 4th goal. And this goal is reflective of the current times and the new direction that Robla is taking. And so this is the first draft of what this new goal will say. This is my first attempt at writing this goal. And we do want to run this by our community and get some input from them. But we want a goal that focuses on creating a learning environment that is focused on equity, and that equity is for all. And while that may be something that we've always kind of thought about in Robla, we think it's important to put it in writing and to call it out as a separate goal, and establishing a district-wide zone of anti-racism. So we think that there's a lot of work that's already happening in Robla related to this, but we also think it's important to express our commitment to evolving as a school district and being more focused on equity and more focused on anti-racism. Not partly as a separate goal, but also as part of the work that we do. And the board has always been very good about making sure that they hold us accountable for looking at different student groups, looking at different ethnic groups, making sure that we are focusing on their needs and how they're achieving and what's their suspension rate, what's their attendance rate. And this just really kind of solidifies the importance of focusing on that aspect of the work that we do in Robla. So this will be something that we will be carrying forth during that engagement period with the community. And with that, I thank you, and I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any comments?
I have one. On the goals, I know you've already developed them. And actually, I was thinking about this before you even came to this point, Ruben, when you first showed the goals. But I carry this little coin. Am I on view?
No, we can hear you.
We can hear.
This little coin around in my pocket. It's the Rotary Pledge. And I'm just going to read it to you before I give you the idea. It says, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better relationships? Will it be beneficial for all who participate? The reason I read that on the goals, like the idea that these are in form of a question, and yours could be also, ours could also be put forth in the form of a question. Maybe not right now, but I just really think the fact that it's there, it's like carried around. You know, it makes me think a little bit more. So
Okay, thank you. We can definitely ponder. Can you send me that?
I certainly will. Yeah,
Don't send me your coin. I don't want to take that away from you, but send me the words on your coin.
I will.
Okay.
Superintendent Reyes, I had a few questions. Sorry if I ask you something that you already answered because I was kind of formulating my thoughts. On the at a glance sheet, I love this at a glance sheet. It looks very informative. I have some questions on that. The first one, I've always wondered is, okay, so I see the 1967 in grades K6, and I see the preschool was 193, and that's great information. Why is it that we keep those separate there, but when it comes to the 5 schools, we don't list the preschool as a separate site? I've always been curious about that.
Well, I think mainly the idea behind that, Mr. Barnes, is that preschool has a completely different funding source and regulations tied to it. So we just kind of have kept it separate simply because it functions in such a different way. The needs of that community are so different, completely different curriculum, completely different credentialing for staff, a completely different funding source. And so we've always just kind of called it out as a separate thing. I think we also do that because what we have in Robla is so unique. I think the board is aware of this. Most public school districts in the state of California have a preschool program, and their preschool program is that there's a preschool class at the elementary school. And we are very unique in that we have a preschool site, and we have been very intentional about keeping that structure for us. And so we also think that it's really, really important to help people see it as a single site in and of itself.
Okay, thank you for that. For a document like this, my input would be, since we do separate the K6 numbers and the preschoolers, that we would also kind of identify that under the school so people know that, we do have that. So that's one thought that I had. The other question, let's see, we list 296 employees, and I know we have a number of volunteers that help make our sites special when we're not in a pandemic, that is. And since this is a document that we are going to push out to our community, I think it would be great to have the number of volunteers on there as well, because it kind of gives more of a holistic picture, even though, they're not part of the funding. It's just, they're part of everything that we do. So, I would love to see that there. Is there a reason why we couldn't or wouldn't do that?
I just think we haven't figured out a metrics for deciding, how to count them.
Right. Okay. Okay, I get that. And the last thing is on the second page of the at a glance. This is me personally. I love it when numbers add up, and these numbers are really close, but they don't quite. Like if you multiply the number of the ADA versus the funding per pupil, they're really close, but they're not exact. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I would defer to Mr. Castillo around.
Okay, and I'm curious because this is me. When I see documents like that, I'm like, oh, they're numbers, and I start playing with them, and so I'm just curious about that. So, Mr. Gerardo, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So I will take a look at that and to get an answer better. But usually it changes a little bit with the unduplicated count, the percentage. We have there like 92%, and in this case is so I will review that and see. There might be some rounding errors or round error. So there's some, like the percentage sometimes it's not like 92, it's like 91 point. So I will review that and adjust that.
Okay. Okay.
I also think it's probably worth mentioning that Mr. Barnes, this is a single page document, right? Mr. Castillo is about to share the budget. And I don't know how many pages it is, Gerardo, but the document that he actually has is a very long document. We're trying to take all of that and boil it down to some very basic things. And in order to do that, right, and make it something that's very understandable to families, I would just say that, we probably take some liberties with boiling down all of that information into one single small little graph that has some very, very basic information.
Right. Yeah. Yes. And I completely get that. I like this as an educational tool because I think part of the reason why we don't get the participation in people coming to our board meetings that we would love to see is because we use a lot of terms that people may not understand. So this is one of those tools that can also educate people on those things, and so that's why I love when I see things like that. Making sure that everything adds up. And the last thing that'll make is I see you have stuff like the P2 average daily attendance. I don't think people would understand quite what the P2 part would be, but that's a real small thing. But I love the fact that we have this because this can tell people what's on our minds, what we do, how we do things, and this is just one of those examples where we can really educate people on what we do and possibly get them interested in our side of things. So thank you very much. I hope it didn't sound like I was complaining about this. I absolutely love this document. I think it's great. So thank you on that.
No, the feedback is always helpful.
Thank you so much for the feedback. Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I had one, and it had to do with the addition of the goal. I understand that the term equity and the term anti-racism are relatively new, and in some places, in some circles, are highly charged politically. What I think I'd like to see is, rather than those terms included, I think that it would be better for us to provide a clearer, this is what we mean. So maybe looking for a better way to phrase that in such a way that whoever reads it understands, like, okay, they understand exactly what equity is. When we talk about what anti-racism is, what specifically are we talking about? Because for some people, it means different things. And I think it's important for us. The other reason why I think it's important is because, for the same reason, I've never been one to wear something that is in fashion. I always try to wear what looks good on me because it stays in style. It's always in style because it always looks good on me. Well, by providing and utilizing language and terminology that will stand the test of time, that goal doesn't just remain as long as the terms equity and anti-racism are the term of the day. So I would encourage you to for us to take a little bit more time to kind of flesh those things out, exactly what they means and what it means, in particular, what it means for the education that we provide to our students, and then include that in the written goal. That's just my input on that.
And I would just say to that, again, this was a first draft, and goals need to be, kind of vetted with the community. So, we'll continue to look at that.
But I love the idea. I love where you're going with that. I really do. I just, once again, it's one of those, okay, it could make it better. Just my thoughts.
Trisha, Rana, you had a question?
For the statement, I was thinking it needs to sound more positive, because with it saying anti-racism at the end, it kind of makes it sound negative, and like Craig was saying, kind of not really hostile, but people refer to that term in different circles, different ways. So maybe turning it around and making it sound more positive with that. So that was all I wanted to say.
And I'll just say I agree with. I look forward to seeing the finished product, especially with adding this fourth goal, and commend you on doing that. I think that's an excellent idea. So I look forward to seeing it when it's all nice and polished and done.
So I'm confident, Ruben, you'll work your magic on it.
I'll do my best.
Okay. All right. With that, we will move on to addendum to the second, oh, this is addendum, we're to the second interim report for 2020-21.
And that's Mr. Castillo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I probably should have said that. Thank you for chiming in.
Could you hear me okay first? Let me test that. Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to this.
Everything looks good.
Okay, good. Let me go to the slideshow. Okay, good evening, President DeLuz, board members, and Superintendent Reyes. This is the last presentation, so I hope to keep you awake from the last presentation. So we are presenting the 2020-21 second interim, keeping in mind our vision statement that is every student reaches their potential in a growth-minded environment, rich in challenging practice, and reflect their learning for all. The package, the board package is 136 pages, and it requires all the required forms. Those are the forms that we had to do for the district. So today we will present an overview. We will cover the education code sections 42130, 42131. We will discuss the budget assumptions included in our second interim. We will discuss the general fund in some details. We will also discuss other funds such as the child development, the cafeteria or nutrition services, and the building funds. We will discuss our multi-year projections. The second interim requires that we look not just at this year, but the following 2 years. What are opportunities and challenges, our next steps, and our recommendation. So education code 42130 and 42131 is really the goal is to certify that we are looking forward and that we are the fiscal solvency on the district. So we are required to present 2 interims during the year. The first one was presented in December, and this one goes from July 1 through July 1, 2020 to January 31st, 2021. So, and also includes the projections for the following 2 years. You know, after we prepare these reports, they are submitted to the County Office of Education, who they do the review. And they also send us a letter for their technical review. And then after that, they're forwarded to California Department of Education. So it is our goal that we present this information tonight where you feel comfortable that we are working towards the goal of creating a fiscal solvency. So what are our budget assumptions? So that by now we include all the governor's proposals from January. And what is that? This is a significant change. You remember last time we were talking about potential decreases in budget cuts. So now for 2021-22, we are projecting a cost of living adjustment of 3.84% for 21-22 and 2.98% for fiscal year 22-23. One significant assumption in our budget is our average daily attendance. You know, for fiscal year 2021 is our current fiscal year, and the following year, we're actually base funded on the what I call it pre-COVID 1988. So it's actually 1920. And that is 1,965. And then for the following fiscal year 22-23, we are assuming a decline in enrollment. One significant assumption in our budget. What is? I hear an echo. The fiscal year 2023 is average daily attendance of 1,875. So the cost of living adjustment is only for the local control funding formula. All the other state revenues is only 1.5%. Our pension, we actually have a small decrease for CalSTRS and an increase for CalPERS of 2.30%. We also get funded for lottery. Lottery is breaking down between unrestricted, That means we could use those funds for any purpose that we want. And restricted is 49 per ADA, that we could only use those funds for instructional materials. So what is not in the budget is as important as what it is. So there are 3 items. They are not in the budget, and this is the potential increases in federal funding. Remember at the last board meeting, Mr. Barnes asked what is our federal funding. So this is very new information today. The president signed the bill, what he called the American Rescue Plan. Before it was called the COVID-19 relief bill. So we expect a potential like $5 million. So that is not included in the budget. We also have the state funds. This is regarding, they call it the reopening and expanded learning. And the governor signed the deal, we call the deal, last Friday. So this is not included in the budget as well. And this is, it was about 1.8 million. We just did not have all the details. So I want to just take a little moment. That sounds like a lot of money, but it's just a reminder, this is one-time funds, we get in it to, and the purpose of these funds, there's a lot of details. We had to apply, and we had to comply for like reopening our schools. One good thing is it feels really good that a lot of the requirements that we already did that. So but we had to have a plan how we're going to open our schools. Another item that is not in the budget, we have not settled with our bargaining partners. So that is not included in the budget as well. One significant assumption in the negative way is our declining enrollment. Last year we actually have a small increase on 90 students, and this year we have a decrease of about 105 students. So we are okay for this year and the following year, but after that, we don't have the relief of being funded based on the pre-COVID-19 ADA. So that's a significant something that we are watching it very careful on a weekly basis, because they will have a lot of financial consequences for us. So now let's talk about the general fund. Our total revenues are $30.1 million. Out of this, there's breaking down in 4 major components. One is the local control funding formula, $22.27 million. We have the federal revenues. That is all restricted, $4.6 million. So this amount is in this year is a lot. Is 3 million of this. 3 of those millions are related to the CARE Funds Act. So they are one-time funding. So this 15% is usually about 7%. So that's the one I just, and then we have the other state revenues that includes special aid, lottery, and other local revenues such as interest in local grants. So we depend a lot on the state, 81% of the state revenues, 74% local control funding formula, and 7% other states. We're going to discuss in the next slide a little bit more about the local control funding formula, especially since it was presented in the LCAP. So I call this is like a bucket. The local control funding is made out of 4 different buckets, and the first bucket is our average daily attendance, and that includes, the number is a little bit different because that includes that ADA that is generated from the county office of education for our students. So we have 16, due to the average daily attendance, $16.1 million. And then we have a supplemental in concentration, is also part of the ADA, but we receive these funds due to the unduplicated count of students that is about 92%. So these funds is unique for Robla, where it's calculated based on the percentage of unduplicated count. What that means, just for the public, is that the number of students that are English learners, low income, or foster youth. And the reason it's an unduplicated count is because they're counted only once. In our district, we have a lot of needs, so a student could be both an English learners and a low income. It only counts as one. And also we have some revenues from transportation that we had the same amount since fiscal year 2012-13, about 2015, 80-90. So altogether, make it a 22.27 million. It's the same number that we discussed in the previous slide. So this is we discussed the revenue side. Now let's talk the other part of the puzzle is our expenditures. The majority of expenditures, so 87%, are related to payroll. Certificated salaries, those are employees who have, anybody who has a teaching credential, includes teachers, teachers, counselors, psychology, nurse, anybody who has a teaching credential is included on this line. We have classified salaries. That will be all the support staff, such as office managers, custodians, staff in the human department, transportation, business services. And then the benefits, this amount is not just for, it's not just health benefits, but it includes all the statutory taxes, includes all the pension costs. You know, books and supplies, that's in the line where most of the COVID-19 equipment, that's where on that line is. And service and other operating expenditures, that's where the utilities, and also includes the big parties are contracts relating to a special ed. So so that's our expenditures portion. So if we talk in millions, it's hard to wrap our mind about it. But if we think our budget about being $1, let's say $1, so 87 cents or 87% of the dollars is related for the unrestricted general fund related to payroll and benefits. You know, 47 cents or 40% for certificated salaries, 18 cents or 18% for classified, and 22 for employee benefits. The rest is for 4% or 4 cents for books and supplies, and 9 cents is for other services. So that is how our budget is breakdown, and we think about as $1. So besides the general fund, we also have other funds. The one is the Child Development Fund. The majority of this fund is, we also have to keep track of ADA for a different way. The majority is due to the contract that we have with CD for we call it our preschool contract. We also have some donations from the James B. McClatchy Foundation. One change in this year is that for child care, you know, we used to charge to those families who don't qualify for free child care. This year, we are not charging them. This is the governor order, so we are not getting any revenue from a way to help our community or family by not charging any fees. They still have their spot, so we are not charging that. The governor in his new budget, he started last year, but it never materialized. He's proposing significant changes in child development, and so we are keeping track of that on a weekly basis. Tomorrow I have a meeting with Mrs. Hart, with Krista regarding child development. At the last board meeting, you received a presentation regarding the cafeteria fund on nutrition services. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Just during this fiscal year, our Meals on Wheels program has been very successful, and we were able to serve to anyone up to age 18. So this gives us additional revenues. So we had some additional expenditures, but it was very successful. We were actually serving more kids during this time than during a regular school year. As mentioned earlier by Superintendent Reyes, this program is ending tomorrow. So that's now is the families will have to come to school. So that will affect our budget as well. Another fund other than the general is the building fund. This is the bond fund and our community pass. This is something that you could see around the school. I mean, just walk around Robla and you could see you can see in Robla School, in Bell Avenue. We are starting in Glenwood very soon. The boardroom and the building aid is completed. We just waiting for the furniture. So this budget, as we make commitments, we had to adjust the budget. So from the first interim to the second interim, we increased 4.3 million because our new commitments for construction. So this slide right here is our total budget in a nutshell. You will notice that in every fund, except for the building fund, we are ending about the same or better than what we started in the fiscal year. You know, the building fund, the bond fund, does not generate any revenue. You know, once we do the construction, that just goes down, and you know that's actually a good thing because we are updating our facilities and renovating our facilities. So our multi-year projection, you know, as probably you can tell, like this year we're doing well. The following year we're doing well, but due to our declining enrollment of 105 students, at this time, we are projecting over $1 million deficit spending. We could not operate with a deficit spending year after year. You know, it's still this could change. You know, as mentioned, we don't have the American Rescue Plan, the federal plans, and also the state reopenings included in our budget. So that will be in. We still looking into the details how will affect us for this year and the following year. So we're hoping that the details. This is not our funds that you have to spend all at once. Hopefully, they will last us a couple years. What are opportunities and challenges? You know, I include here. I think the first four are our opportunities. We're very excited that we're going to reopen schools after almost a year of being closed. The COVID relief funds, I think that will help us. Some challenges will be our declining and potential decline in meal served. You know, our buses, we are not taking our meals to the community anymore. They will have to come. So how will that affect us and how will it affect our families? You know, we need to figure out a way how to continue providing those meals to the families. And the declining enrollment, you know, is a really a one-time declining due to COVID-19, or is it going to continue ongoing? It's something that we are watching it very carefully on a weekly basis. And I know our Superintendent Reyes has been talking with principals. We are in contact families who we were expecting them to be in school, but they are not, especially those who are in preschool and in kindergarten. So what are our next steps? Last year, the audit has not been completed yet. It will be completed by March 31st. And the budget will change. You know, the budget will be based on the May revise. So that's where we are. We will get back to you. Our enrollment is being monitored. Our negotiations are still pending. We have meetings, and we are actually meeting on Monday. Then again, things are working well, but sometimes it takes some time. The LCAP, we will present it we have to be approved in June as well. It's part of the budget. It's part of the puzzle. So that will be our next steps. So based on the information that you hear that we have in the previous slides, we are asking you to approve our second interim with a positive certification, meaning we are able to meet our obligations for this year and the following 2 years. Qualify will means that we are able to meet our obligations this year but we might not in one of the following 2 years. And negative is that we are not able to meet our obligations. We are in positive. This is where we want to stay in this, our arrow on the green. Thank you for your time. This time completes the presentation of the first interim. We mentioned before that we will update you about our cash. So this is really not part of the interim because you can see this is as of February 28th and the interim is as of January 31st. But this is our cash balance in every fund. We believe we will finish. We have about 4 months to go in expenditures. We will finish with a positive cash in all our funds. Thank you for your time.
Okay, are there any questions or comments?
I just want to I have a comment. Thank you, Mr. Arroyo, for explaining this the way you did, and for the slides that you provided. I know this is one of those things where, you know, as board members we have to do our business and get through the business, but we're also educators in the sense that we have to educate the public. And I appreciate your efforts in putting this in terms that
Alexa,
people
turn off the living room
understand.
Roku.
Sorry, what was that? Oh, well, you know, I just want to say thank you for putting it in terms that people can understand very easily. So I appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments?
I'm sorry about that interruption. I thought I was still muted. Hello? I'm sorry about the interruption. I thought I was still muted when I was talking to Alexa. I was starting to lose. Yeah, I was cutting out there for a minute, but I think I'm okay. The question I have, I don't expect to have an answer, but the American Relief Act that was just passed yesterday, I don't expect any details or anything, but do you have any indication that any of that may be like an unrestricted fund as opposed to the restricted funds that always are part of the federal monies?
Yeah, so I read it, but I feel like I need to more details, you know, past that. My understanding is that the total amount that we have, one of the requirements in order for us to qualify to the whole, we had to spend 20% in providing life instructor, you know, like students had to be present. We had to have a plan for that. And there is some funding related to special ed. And one thing that was it looks like it's not just for 1 year, it's about like 2 years. So I was kind of, sometimes you have to spend all of this money, especially when it's restricted, and that way you can have a little plan. That's all I could tell you right now. It just passed it was signed today, so that's yeah.
It's more details than I expected. I thank you for that. Yeah. But the other comment I have too on the ADA and the declining enrollment, which I hope doesn't, but some of the things I'm hearing watching the news about the pandemic in schools throughout the country, that there's some talk about distance learning being permanent for some students. I don't know if that's going to be a consideration here in California, the county, or anything, but if that should take place, that could also be something that wouldn't be quite a positive impact on our future ADA also. Just a comment.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Thank you, sir, very much. Thank you so very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. And with that, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. On to action items. Action item A, approve the positive certification of the 2020-21 second interim financial report for the period July 1st, 2020 through January 31st, 2021.
So move.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. B, consideration and approval of prime contract change order number 02 to the construction services agreement with Flint Builders for adjustment of costs for the Bell Avenue Elementary School new classroom and administration building.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there anything we'd like to discuss on this one? Any
Your
questions?
mic is off, Ruben.
Sorry. Emilio, will you give us a bit of an explanation around this item?
Certainly, and for the board, it's a combination of a number of items. Results in an overall cost increase of about $8,800. The probably most substantial cost increase is related to the removal of additional contaminated materials that was found underneath the portables. So there was materials that were underneath the asphalt that had been covered up, and those materials, upon being removed, were determined that they had to be removed and disposed of at a special site. The other one is a slight change to design, which is the storm drain reroute. And so some of the water systems going into the street, given the way that the city had built the storm system versus what the original plans were for the city were different, which required us to redesign that particular move over there. Those costs have been offset by two things. One is the addition of some materials into the concrete in lieu of rebar. And then the other one was a change in the elevator system to be proposed at Bell. So that is in line with the other systems that we have over at Maine and at Robla, so that we're able to carry forward a maintenance contract that allows us to continue to address those in a similar fashion. So there's a number of items, but the net effect on overall is about $8,800.
I have a question.
Yes.
You said you had to dispose of something because it was contaminated.
Yes.
Was the dirt contaminated? Is that going to be removed also? And is that included in the cost if it is?
So to answer your question straightforward, yes, that's included in the cost.
Okay.
We have a special inspector on site who does materials testing from time to time. And so if there's anything that's deemed to be of any type of hazard or beyond the state of California's variances for certain materials, then what we're required to do is actually excavate down to a point where the soil is deemed to be uncontaminated. So in some cases, like in this particular case, it was something that was mixed into some of the materials beneath the asphalt but above the soil.
Okay.
So think of it as like the aggregate rock, right? And so there was some type of material that was in there, and then therefore we had to do is we had to excavate that, and given the chemical composition of that particular medium, it had to be disposed of at a special site.
Okay, but there's not going to be like an additional cost like in a month or two where they have to clean out more. Like the dirt from this specific spot.
From that specific spot, absolutely,
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
I will say that when we go and build the kindergarten classroom on the other side of campus, we may run into this again when we disturb the soil. But at this specific site, at this specific time, we believe that we have mitigated with that. And a lot of that's because of the fact that we've completed that first phase of demolition. As I showed you in the photo previously, we're putting down the foundation. We've identified the area in which that we will be impacting for construction. And so within that area, we do not anticipate having additional issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Amelia, I have one
Yes.
question. It wasn't asbestos, was it?
No, it wasn't. I think it was a petroleum byproduct.
Okay, okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, because it's underneath, so it's something that used in the tar beneath, and just so the public understands that, the asphalt on top of that prevents it from seeping up or down or causing any, so as long as the material is not disturbed because of being excavated, there's no harm to students, staff, or the public. It's just that we can't dump it at the same spot that we would dump everything else. And so it requires special handling and special movement and disposal.
Right, and that's what caught my attention because I know asbestos has to be dumped in a certain spot. I used to be involved with that, but it was back in the 90s, and I'm just glad to hear it wasn't, because even when you dump asbestos, unless it's changed, you were still responsible for the chain of custody even after you dump it.
That's sometimes the case, and
Thanks.
as you may recall, at Robla, there was a significant amount of abatement that we had to do when we demolished the old 1930s building over there. So, but in this case, it was just a soil product that had to be removed.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion carries 4-0-1. Or was that aye? Was that a nay?
It was an aye. I just
okay.
was unmuting.
Oh,
at the
you were
same
muted.
time, sorry.
Okay. Then it passes 5-0. Passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to item D, adopt board resolution, release of certificated temporary employees for the 2021-2022 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Would you like to speak to this real quick, Mr. Reyes?
Sure. This is just the statute requires that if we anticipate the possibility of not needing an employee, we have the March 15th deadline to do that notification. And even if an employee is temporary with a single year contract, that notification is required. And so that's what this item is about.
Excellent. Any questions or comments or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item D, adopt board resolution, dismissal of certain certificated probationary employees for the 2021-2022 school year.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any debate or discussion? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item F, addendum, cancel March 25th, 2021 regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. All right, we're on to section 7, board member requests for future agenda items or reports. We'll start with Trustee Cardona. No request. Trustee
request.
Boyd.
I don't have a request, but I'd just like to comment. I didn't want to take the time at the end, but I'd really appreciate what you had said about feeling open to say what you feel in these at any time in the district. And it really brought to mind, I would just like to throw it out there, Trustee DeLuz. I really can't say how much I appreciate that. I want everybody in this district to feel comfortably open. But I had the, can't say it was a pleasure of attending a Zoom seminar this weekend. But one of the speakers was this Chantel Valet. And she is, I believe, the first female basketball coach to coach the professional men's team, Hamilton, whatever they are in Canada. But she was talking about truth versus harmony. And I think this fits so well with what you were talking about, being open. And she was related to her team, but her quote was, trying for harmony destroys truth. Teamwork, you said, but truth. Truth brings harmony. And I think that says it, kind of sums up a lot what you're saying too. You know, a lot of times you're afraid to say something, not because you're feeling threatened in a job environment, but you're afraid to break up the harmony of the team. But that just doesn't work out. So again, I appreciate it, and I just want to throw that on top of it.
You know, I appreciate that. And I think one of the things that makes our board work, you know, even though we have a diversity of experiences and opinions, is it's important to understand that it is not agreement that brings harmony, it's understanding. And when you understand and you know that everybody's coming from the same place and everybody's about the kids, you can handle the disagreements. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
Let's see, Trustee Devine.
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Trustee Barnes.
I want to second what Trustee Boyd said about your comments on input, and that's something that we've said in the past, that we really value input from everyone, and I think that the more we say it and the more avenues that we say it in, the more it will be accepted. So thank you for saying that, and it is definitely sincere. So I appreciate that. Also, I don't have any requests, but I will take this opportunity to thank the unseen people that help make all of this possible, and that's people like Nicole Sullivan and Shari Malaspine and Adam Vivier, who really help put these on, especially during these challenging times where we're meeting online. So thank you for, and if I'm missing anyone, I apologize for that, but thank you to everyone that has helped make this possible. That's it for me.
Thank you.
Most definitely. And I have nothing to request. So thank you, everybody. So that's going to be it for tonight's board meeting. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Please remember, you guys always know where to reach us. You folks always know where to reach any one of us, whether it's staff or board members. As my colleagues have stated, we need your input. You're part of the Robla family. So we need you to be a part. We need you to help us to be better and do better. So thank you so very much. And I hope all of you have a very good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Good
That is-
night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night.